Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God, the most gracious, most merciful. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, my brothers and sisters, and welcome to this evening's program. You're listening to Radio Mac, broadcasting on 107.1 FM from the heart of Bradford, and I'm your host, Asif Sabah, in the studio. And we're going to continue our conversations about the Quran. We give thanks and praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing us to come into your homes to bring you messages of hope, happiness, peace, love and well-being, that we may remind you of the favours that Allah has bestowed on you. This program is dedicated to exploring the spiritual and the symbolic language of the Quran. The Quran that I use is the Allama Abdullah Yusuf Ali version that has been translated from Arabic to English. And the main features of these talks are about what it's like to be a spiritual person living in this physical world. If what I quote does not match up exactly with the version of the Quran that you have, it may be that you have got a different edition. Because sometimes I will use different verses from the Quran. And the only difference is that sometimes the translated versions may differ slightly. But usually they have this pretty much the same meaning when you look behind the actual wisdom and the verses. And so today we are going to continue our conversation about how Quranic wisdom can help you on your spiritual journey, and also how it can heal your soul from within, because this is where all healing starts. It's not always a matter of healing the physical body and only focusing on the physical body, but what about healing the root cause of whatever is happening to you physically, because all things start from within your own inner self. And so this is where sometimes you have to look for the answers as to why you actually feel or why you are experiencing what you are experiencing on your journey through this world. And so how does the Quran shape your perspectives and even your behaviours as you travel on this journey through this world? Because don't forget, we are thought activity, and everything we do is about what we are thinking about. So we are thought activity in motion. The Quran, if you actually think about it, is a group of thoughts together in one place. And it's the wisdom behind those amazing verses that really shape your perception and give you your outlook on life, even though you may not think it's so. Because when you read the Quran, you get to know certain verses, they stick in your mind and they shape your perception, because when you are going through a difficult period, what do? You start to think about the situation, then you start to also draw from your memory or from within yourself the wisdom of the verses and say, okay, I know why I'm going through this, because I read it in the Quran, and the Quran says, with every difficulty, there will be ease. So just those few little words of wisdom lets you know that what you are going through is going to come to an end, and it's not going to last forever. Just like another verse which says, each soul must come up struggling for itself. And so what happens? You understand that what you are going through, you have to work on it yourself, you have to understand it for yourself, and then move beyond it as you learn to move your consciousness in maybe a different direction from the direction that it was taking. But whatever direction you turn your focus of attention, it's your thoughts and the things that you've manifest or accepted as a truth that are actually directing you. And so behind every action and action there is a reason, and behind every reason are thoughts, and behind every thought is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So thoughts play such an important part, and they shape our perception about life in general, about everything that exists within this physical world is created through thought activity. Because if we didn't think it, then it wouldn't be so. You know, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't send us that inspiration or those ideas, then it wouldn't be so. It wouldn't exist. And so this is, you know, and when I say it wouldn't exist, I'm just talking, say, about in your life. You know, when you're not thinking about something, it might exist over there, but to you at this point in time, it doesn't exist because it's not a reality for you. It's like, say, I don't know, that's the easiest way I can actually explain it to you, but you'll have to use your own imaginations and your own understandings to apply, say, something to yourself and say, okay, you know, do you know, if you're, say you're walking down the street, you don't know what's behind the corner that you're going to turn into until you actually turn into that corner. So until you actually turn into that corner, whatever is around that corner, technically it doesn't exist. It only comes into existence when you see it within your own life. And this is what I'm talking about. So be aware that whatever you think shapes your reality. And the beautiful thing about this is, when you think about something, what do? You create a connection with that which you're thinking about. You create a unity, or like a union. Because if something doesn't exist, then you're not thinking about it, so there's no connection there. When you start thinking about something, this is when the connection and the union between what you are thinking about and the thoughts in your mind, that is when you make that connection. And even though it may be just a connection through your thoughts, it is still a connection. And so this union that takes place between you and whatever it is you are seeing, whatever it is you are thinking about, actually exists, but in a different form. And so your thoughts create your perception. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, my brothers and sisters, and welcome back. You are listening to Radio Mac, broadcasting on 107.1 FM from the heart of Bradford, and I'm your host Asif Sabah in the studio. And we've started off this program talking about the Quran and how amazing the Quran is, because the Quran is like a group of thoughts together in one place. Those thoughts come down from the highest of the heavens, and they have been they came through the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and entered into our world. And we have what we have today, the Quran. So it is filled with thoughts of wisdom and understanding to help you on your pathway as you travel your journey through this world. And your thoughts create your perception. And when you start to think of the impact that your thoughts have on you, sometimes I think we go through life not paying too much attention to the thoughts we have, how we think, how we feel. And, as we're charging through life, we have a focus of attention on doing this, that, or the other. And the driving force behind everything that we do is thought activity. Now, sometimes our negative emotions or these harmful thoughts that we think can get in the way of what we are going through. And of course, when you construct thoughts based on negativity or harmfulness, those thoughts will structure themselves in such a way that they will really harm your own self. So for example, you say something that's not a very nice thing to say to somebody. Well, those thoughts may hurt somebody in such a way that it could last for a lifetime. And so that is the power of the thoughts that you have and what you say or what you can say to somebody. So you have to learn to be really careful about some of the things that you do say to somebody else, because that may affect them in such a profound way that, they may never recover from such a situation. And I know sometimes it is hard. We all say some things that we may regret or do feel bad about. So, if you get the opportunity, and you realize what you've done, say sorry. There's nothing wrong with saying sorry and apologizing and trying to put right that slip. But when you think about what thoughts are and how thoughts do create your perception and how they can influence even your behavior, you should be taking care about not only what you think about others, but what you think about yourself. Because I guarantee other people will not see you in the same way that you see yourself. Somebody may think you're absolutely amazing, but your thoughts about yourself are, maybe a little bit more harmful to yourself. So realize, your thoughts, they hold a lot of power. And the beauty about reading the Quran is this: that because the Quran came down from the highest of heavens, the structure of the thoughts within the Quranic verses is perfect. And even in the translations, the impact of the thoughts that the thought activity that you're reading within the verses of the Quran and the ideas it creates within your own mind will create your perception. And depending on how you are reading those thoughts and understanding them will depend on if your soul is raised up or if you lead your soul astray. And so you've got to realize that Quranic wisdom is a catalyst for spiritual transformation. It's also a guiding light for believers on a journey of self-discovery. And as you learn to understand yourself, as you discover maybe things about yourself that you did not know. This will eventually lead to your enlightenment about a matter or about a situation, or even just in general. You'll have your own experience of enlightenment. So as you deepen your understanding of the Quran and apply its teachings to your life, you can experience a profound shift in your consciousness that transcends the material world. Because the Quran will take you on an amazing journey into the depths of your own soul. And the deeper you can reflect within yourself, the more amazing you will find, or you'll be so amazed by the wisdom of the Quran. Now, meditation is a journey which takes you into the depths of your soul. And when you close your eyes and you go within, you get to know yourself on a personal level, because you go in amongst all your thoughts. And we're talking about some of your good thoughts and also those harmful thoughts that we all have. You go in among them, and then you can look and, you get to know yourself on a personal level. You get to know all of your good, all of the harmful thoughts that you think. And the beauty about reading the Quran is you can use the wisdom of the Quran and take those thoughts that are in the Quran and apply them to your own harmful thoughts to kind of push them aside, to calm them down so that they don't overwhelm you, so that you aren't pushed into anxiety or depression or panic attacks, because you're taking the wisdom of the Quran, you're using it as a foundation within yourself, and as you carry that foundation on your journey through this world, when situations happen in your life, you can apply that wisdom. It will calm down any harmful or negative thoughts or negative situations that are going on around you, so that the situation doesn't affect you in such a disastrous way. This is the beauty of the Quran. And this is why I always say, read it in a language you understand, so that you can get the best out of it. And so the Quran is a book that came down from the highest of heavens. How you read it, how you understand it, is according to where your consciousness is placed. So if you work on yourself to cleanse yourself, to purify yourself, your consciousness, and you'll find this, that your consciousness will ascend. It will move, because your consciousness is not a static, it's not static. It doesn't just stay in one place. And this is, you'll know this by the different mood swings that you have during your day. In the morning you may not be as happy. By the afternoon you may be happier. And what's changed? The outer world may not have changed. You may have just been pottering around at home and you haven't really spoken to many people or anybody. And so What is it that has actually changed? It's your consciousness, where your consciousness is residing. That is what's changed. Because you can be sat in a room with nothing there, nothing to influence you, nothing to make you angry, but then all of a sudden something overwhelms you and you become angry. Well, that's because your consciousness has moved. Or, for example, if you are not feeling too good in the morning and by the afternoon you're feeling really happy, but you still haven't really had any interactions with anybody, but you're feeling happy. Why? Because your consciousness has moved. It's ascended. And you might not have realized your consciousness has ascended or moved up, but it has. And this is why you feel the way you do. So as your consciousness moves around your own polarity. Now, what is polarity, you may be thinking? Well, polarity is like hot water and cold water. You get two extreme heats. One is cold, the other is hot. And there's all the different degrees of hot and cold in between. And so if you think about your consciousness moving around or moving through different degrees of awareness, this is why you sometimes feel the way you do. It's because your consciousness is not static. It is not just based in your brain. Your consciousness kind of moves. If you think of a circle, and you've got the top and you've got the bottom, and there's a ball inside the circle. Well, if the ball spins around the circle, one moment it's up at the top, the next moment it's down at the bottom. So when it's at the bottom, this is where you are not feeling as happy as you usually feel. When the ball rises to the top, this is when you are feeling happy, because you have ascended, and the ball within the circle is your consciousness moving around. And it's moving through all the different degrees within that conscious sphere. So let's just say, for example, there's 10,000 degrees within that conscious or within that sphere that you're residing within. So, when the Quran talks about residing within your highest horizon, it means your consciousness is in its peak. It's at its highest horizon. When the Quran talks about you are born into the base matter that you know. Now, for those people who have heard my talks, you'll have heard me mention these little things before, but that is when your consciousness has sunk down and is now dwelling within your base matter, in your desires. And so this is the thing about consciousness. It's a matter of understanding and knowing that you don't just dwell around in one state of consciousness, but you move around. You live in multiple states of conscious awareness as per your mood swings. Is the easiest material understanding I can give you to explain. And you'll know, you have different mood swings at different times. Happy in the morning, sad by the afternoon, or sad in the morning, happy by the afternoon. It depends what's going on in your life. And so and in between all this that's taking place, you have your perception. So if you are happy in the morning, then your perception of life is going to be happy. If you are sad, then your outlook on life is going to be sad. So that is the power of your thoughts. So pay attention to your thoughts. Pay attention to the ideas within your conscious awareness. And get to know yourself. And the easiest way you can actually get to know yourself is through meditation. Muraqabah, which is the Islamic term for meditation. And all meditation is a deeper form of prayer, where you close your eyes, you go within yourself, you get to know yourself on a personal level. And as you get to know yourself on a personal level, you start to understand your conscious connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is what it's all about. So when you go within yourself, when you do your du'as, when you pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are creating thoughts, and as you go within yourself, go amongst all your thoughts, what you can do is learn to push yourself beyond the everyday thoughts and get to that very special place within you where you can fill yourself with love and imagine the power of your prayers as you fill yourself with love. The thoughts will change, your whole being will change, your whole self will change, because you have made a very special connection. And you have felt, you will feel that very special connection within yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the difference between just saying your prayers but really feeling your prayers. When you know you have gone beyond the everyday thoughts that you have and made that special connection, you feel that special connection, because you will feel differently about what you are doing. And this is what it's all about as well. And what is producing this feeling is where your consciousness is residing. And also, the thoughts that you create as you make that inner connection will be so different. They will be more structured, they will be more loving, they will be filled with compassion and all the beautiful names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when you pray from deep within yourself, when those prayers are filled with love, whoever you include within that loving energy, they will receive, because that divine expression of love that you feel within yourself will go out as energy far and wide. And everyone who it touches, everyone you focus on, they will receive a blessing. This is the power of prayer. This is the power of a real true connection between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when you are focused through your thoughts, through that feeling, that inner connection, your prayers will have an amazing effect. So through prayer and meditation and contemplation, you are able to cultivate a deeper connection with God, finding peace and guidance and solace and gratitude and love in the words not only of your prayer, but when you come out of your meditation and start to read the Quran, you will pull back a part of Allah's light. And when you read the Quran, you will read it from this inner place that you've reached down into your soul and touched. And when you learn to read the Quran from that special inner sacred mosque, that place within you, this is when you will see some amazing things in the Quran. It will change everything. You will see and you will feel so complete. Because as you go within, as you go beyond the everyday thoughts that you think, as you make that connection to your inner sacred mosque, it'll have such a profound effect on you that it will open you up and change everything that you ever thought. And as you draw that same feeling, as you draw that same emotion, when you're reading the Quran, your consciousness, it will be like it's unlocked something special within you. And you can unlock your true potential. And it's this that leads to a life fulfilled with purpose. Because you've opened yourself up. You're not just in the world chasing after the material things. But you know that from deep within yourself, you have found something special. You have found something that really, truly does allow you to feel that connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as you make that connection between yourself and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then you read the Quran, imagine the kinds of thoughts and the wisdom that you will see within the verses. Instead of applying the wisdom of the verses to the external world, you start to see a new understanding. And you relate that understanding to your own personal spiritual journey within yourself. And you can unlock an amazing potential within yourself. And as you become fulfilled, and as you begin to serve others, you truly do begin to embrace and embody the verses of the Quran in such a special way. Everything changes. Everything changes. Your whole behavior changes. Your whole mental attitude changes. Your whole being changes. Why? Because you've touched that special place that goes far beyond this physical reality, and you know it exists because you felt it. And that is the beauty of not only meditation, but going beyond the physical thoughts you have about this world. But when you start to connect that experience to the verses of the Quran, and you also begin to feel that inner connectedness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's when everything changes. You will change. you will grow beyond the conscious retreats that you've created in relation to your life in this world. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, my brothers and sisters, and welcome back. Yes, you're listening to Radio Mac, broadcasting on 107.1 FM from the heart of Bradford, and I'm your host Asif Saber in the studio, and today we're just kind of talking about the Quran and how the words of wisdom in the Quran can impact and change your whole being, and how the words of wisdom in the Quran can transform your life. And also, it shapes your perception of whatever is going on in your life, and also your behaviors. Because the Quran is filled with amazing thoughts. And it is a group of thoughts together in one place. Those thoughts have come down from the highest of the heavens, and they present themselves to you in a book that you can read. So you are actually connecting to the wisdom of the heavens when you read the verses of the Quran. And because we are thoughts, our whole being, our whole life is based on the thoughts that we think. And so, because our thoughts create our perception, and they also create our behaviors, because behind our visions of the world and behind our actions, thought activity is there, pushing us, guiding us, and influencing us on our journey. So this is the power of thoughts and how they can influence you and guide you. But it all depends on the kinds of thoughts that you yourself decide to entertain. Do you hold on to the wisdom, or do you follow harmful thoughts that are of no benefit to you, not in the long run? They may be beneficial in the short term, but sometimes you have to look beyond the short term and look to the long-term benefits of anything that is going on in your life. And so the Quran it's a groundbreaking resource that can guide you, and it can also liberate you from these harmful inner voices that do try to lead you astray, try to disrupt your peace and harmony, and influence you and get you to follow their ways instead of the ways that you should be following. And so those harmful inner voices will blind you, and they will also bind you to the cycles of never-ending misery and self-sabotage. And so this is why you have to be careful, because those thoughts will sneak up on you, and before you know it, they are influencing and they are behind everything that you do. And if they are pleasing to you, then maybe you need to look at some of the things that you're thinking about, some of the ideas that you're processing, and ask yourself, what are these thoughts doing to my soul? How am I benefiting? I may find a little bit of amusement in them, but what is the damage? Because we don't always see the damage until it's too late. And so, as you read and explore the loving wisdom, not only within your own self, but within the verses of the Quran, this is when you will truly be amazed. But how can you love the wisdom of the Quran if you do not love yourself? Don't forget, your thoughts create your perception. If you do not read the verses of the Quran and you are not filled with love, then imagine what is the perception you're going to draw from the verses of the Quran. You're going to get a perception based on your own individual thoughts. And if you're an angry person and you're reading the Quran, then the verses of the Quran will show up in anger. You will see anger because that is your perception. If you fill yourself with real, true love, you're going to see a whole different understanding behind the verses. They are going to talk to your soul and they are going to influence you in the best of ways because your perception is already filled with love. But harmful thoughts, they don't create anything new within you. They just lead you astray. They just create more harmfulness within you. And so, when you're reading the Quran, read it with love. Get into the right frame of mind. And you will find within yourself a certain kind of strength, because as you're making that connection to the verses of the Quran, you will feel liberated. You will feel a certain kind of strength because you will see the beauty in the Quran. And you will be protected from the damaging inner voices as you walk your journey through life. Because you will have the ammunition, you will have the solutions firmly planted within the garden of your soul. And as you draw upon those solutions, when you do it with love, you will see the best of answers, because those loving thoughts will also influence your perception. And eventually, you will uncover the divine presence within not only your own heart, but within the wisdom of the Quran. And as the Quranic wisdom fills your heart, it will enhance your own wisdom through which you can make a change to the conditions under which you live. You can make a change to the conditions under which you live. That is the power of the Quran and the wisdom of the Quran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, my brothers and sisters, and welcome back. That was a beautiful nasheed by Zain Bika called The Heart of a Muslim. And it's worth, the words on that song are so important to remember that love plays such an important part in how you see life. So don't reject the power that love can bring into your life, and how just being in love changes your perception of everything. This is why it's so important. We can charge through life if we wish, but the expression of love is such a powerful force in your life, because it's the thoughts that follow through. So when you're in love, you manifest different thoughts than when you are angry. And from experience, the kinds of thoughts you manifest when you're angry and the kinds of thoughts that you manifest when you're in love, when you're happy and joyous and feeling great. You manifest totally opposite thoughts, but you forget those thoughts become a part of you because they come into your reality. And then as you build up those thoughts, they will take over. So if you're always angry, then you will eventually become filled with anger. And imagine going through life always angry. So why not just switch it and fill yourself with love and go through life filled with love? Because you will take your character with you into the hereafter. Your character, when you pass away from this world, will transcend and move on to the next world. And who would you rather take with you? Anger or happiness and joy and love? So realize the power of thoughts. Your thoughts create your perception, and everything you do is a result of the thoughts that you are thinking. And when you read the Quran, you will get a real good understanding of the best kinds of thoughts. And those thoughts that you put together and you have from the verses of the Quran will help you to counteract. They will be the opposite of the harmful thoughts that arise in your life and try to sway you. And this is what life is all about. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. So the Quran, it is the holy book that we should all be reading and considering the words of wisdom that we find within its pages. Because the Quran was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, through the angel Gabriel. And for each of us, the Quran is the ultimate guide to life, and contains guidance and lessons that can transform your life in numerous ways. And so finding inner peace is one of the ways in which the Quran can transform your life. It will bring into your whole being a new set of thoughts. And the Quran, it contains verses that will soothe and calm your heart and mind and provide you with a sense of inner peace. And by reading and reflecting on the Quran, you can develop a stronger connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which can lead to a sense of contentment and security. So the Quran is a guide for us all on how to live a righteous and virtuous life. And it contains numerous stories and teachings that illuminate or illustrate the importance of moral values such as honesty and kindness and compassion and justice. And by reading and reflecting upon the teachings, you are able to develop you'll develop a strong moral character. And as you develop this strong moral character, it will bring in your life new ideas to keep you striving in that way. Because once you start to build up your character on good morals, and you hold on to those morals, out of that moral will spring other valuable thoughts that you can grow within yourself, and they become the harvest of your soul. So when the Quran is talking about harvest, it is not talking about the harvest in the fields, in the external world. What about the inner harvest of your own self? The Quran uses nature to explain spiritual truths. So when you get words like the crops grow into, or let me put it this way, let's go a different way with this. The crops produce grains which spring up into a harvest. Now I'm sure for those people who read the Quran, and I use the Allama Abdullah Yusuf Ali translation, when you read that specific version, let me just, we are coming up for Maghrib prayer, the Azan, so I'll just do this quickly, then we'll come back to it afterwards. So, the crops are the good thoughts that you have. So say love is the crop. Within love, you find many different other thoughts that manifest in the expression of love. They become the grains of love. As you work on them and bring them into fruition, they become a harvest within you. And so when the Quran is talking about crops, grains and harvest, it's not talking about the external world. It's talking about what is going on within you. It's talking about whatever crop you plant produces grains, additional thoughts. And those additional thoughts grow into a harvest within you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my brothers and sisters, and welcome back. Yes, you're listening to Radio Mac, broadcasting on 107.1 FM from the heart of Bradford, and I'm your host Asif Sabah in the studio. And today we're talking about the Quran and its benefits, and how the wisdom of the Quran can change your whole perception of life when you start to apply its wisdom to your everyday life. And you take those verses and let them help you on your journey, and let them fight against the harmful thoughts that we think about when we go through difficult times. And so as you learn to understand as you learn to understand yourself, you will start to understand the Quran in such a profound way. It will help you on your journey. Not only will you find inner peace, but you will learn to develop a strong moral character. And character building is so important, because your character becomes your outer expression in this world. So basically, whatever you put into yourself becomes a part of who you become. It becomes a part of your expression. And all those thoughts and ideas that you accept as truth, whether they're harmful thoughts or whether they're loving thoughts, they will grow within you. And just before the Azan and the commercial break, we were talking about when the Quran talks about harvest. So for those people who are reading the Quran, and I use the Allama Abdullah Yusuf Ali translation from Arabic to English. When the Quran is talking about crops, when it's talking about grains, and when it's talking about harvesting, well, let me just remind you of what we were talking about just before the Azan and the commercial break. So, for example, love is the crop that you grow within you. Out of your expression of love, so what do you find within the expression of love? You will find the 99 names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You'll find words like compassion, peace, purity, unity, kindness, gratitude. So you'll find all these amazing words. So if love is the crop, the words that you find within the expression of love become the grains. So when the Quran is talking about out of the crop will be produced many grains or beautiful grains, it's talking about the crop, love being the crop, the thoughts you think in association to love being the grains, and they grow within you. Now, as those grains multiply within you and you grow them and develop them, they become your harvest. Your harvest will be different from somebody else's harvest. So, for example, somebody who thinks hateful thoughts or harmful thoughts, out of those harmful thoughts will spring up more harmful thoughts. The Quran talks about weeds that are grown. Well, these are the weeds that we grow within ourselves, within our own inner garden. And so, when you think about the Quran in terms of crops or weeds, then think about what this is growing within you. You see, the Quran uses nature to explain to you spiritual truths. But it all does depend on which direction you're focusing your conscious awareness. When you focus it within yourself, say through mindfulness, self-reflection, or better still, meditation or muraqabah, then you start to associate the wisdom you find within the Quran to yourself. And as you take that wisdom and apply it to yourself, this is when you start to see the amazing wisdom behind the verses of the Quran. And as you apply the wisdom, that wisdom to yourself, you will be so astounded. You will be absolutely amazed, and you'll wonder, how did I miss this before? So it all comes down to, in which direction do you focus your attention? Because when you focus on the external world, then also you'll start to apply the verses to everybody else except yourself. Because you're looking externally and you're focused on the external world. When you turn your vision within yourself, this is when you will start to apply the verses to yourself. So your consciousness, it turns around and focuses on you. And then as you look within yourself, your focus also turns to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because you will start to feel that inner connection. You will start to grow within yourself a beautiful harvest through the expression of love. And as that harvest, or as those grains start to grow into a harvest, this is when you will feel different. You will start to feel a real connection between yourself and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That spiritual connection that maybe was missing in your life. As you build up these feelings of love within you, as the grains are produced and as they grow into this amazing harvest, that harvest will transform you and fill you, and you'll have different feelings within yourself through the expression of love. And it's through that loving expression that you will begin to feel a deeper connection, because when you go within yourself, you will start to feel differently. You will start to feel a new connection that you make, and it's a conscious connection, not an external connection, but an inward knowing, an inward connection. And you will grow closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and everything will change. Your morals will change, because you will start to develop a stronger moral character. So the inner you that you're planting all these amazing crops and grains and harvests will start to have an influence on the external you, the character of yourself. And as you grow this strong moral character, you will grow closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You will begin to expand in awareness. And instead of looking outwardly for answers, you turn your consciousness and reflect within yourself. So you start to look inwardly for answers to your inner questions instead of looking outwardly. And this is the beauty that you will find within the wisdom of the Quran, because you'll take those verses and you'll start to apply them to yourself, and they will have a profound effect upon you. So look within yourself and seek a way of expressing love, and allow the grains that grow from the loving expressions you feel to become the harvest that grows within you. And then that harvest will transform you, because it will have an influence on your character. And as your character grows, as you develop a strong moral character that's on principles based on loving expressions, you will grow closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because you will feel totally different. Your foundation will be built upon whatever it is that you plant within yourself. So don't allow weeds to grow. Don't allow these harmful thoughts to grow within yourself. Allow love to grow within yourself. And then allow that loving expression to make a connection between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Grow in love, grow in trust, and grow in truth.